Hey guys, it's your boy Progress, and welcome to a brand new video. If you want to follow my other social media, I've got my Twitter and Instagram on screen in the description, so if you want, then go check those out. Now, I don't often get involved with drama. Okay, fine, I don't mean to get involved with drama, alright? But something has happened recently that I still do not see enough people talking about, and so I wanted to make a video on this situation to be able to bring it to the attention of more people. For those of you who are unaware, another YouTuber in the investigative hip-hop commentary scene named Helloyassine actually uploaded a video on the Kid LAROI titled The Dark Side of Kid LAROI. In this video, it was exposed that the self-told come-up story that the Kid LAROI has been spreading is more than likely not true. Not only that, but he was able to explain what the thought to be real story actually is of how the Kid LAROI got his come up. And just quickly, for those of you who don't know the Kid LAROI, he is a 16-year-old Australian rapper who has been getting mass popularity in recent times for working with the likes of Cole Bennett, who is a massive video director with a YouTube channel called Lyrical Lemonade, as well as getting features from people like Lil Skies, Lil Tecca, and many more. But when it comes to Helloyassine's video on the Kid LAROI, I don't want to sit here and explain absolutely everything that was talked about in that video, because I want you guys to actually go and watch that video, but I will sum up what I see as some of the most important points from that video, as well as add on to those with details that have now come out since the release of his video. To start, it was extremely weird that the Kid LAROI's first EP that shows up on his SoundCloud, called 14 with a Dream, was made with high quality equipment, had so many producers, and it was a well-mixed EP. The reason this was strange is because, once again, the Kid LAROI was 14 years old when he made it, so where did he get any of the stuff to be able to make that? Helloyassine at first assumed that maybe it was rich parents or something similar to that, but then immediately dismissed that once he found out that the Kid LAROI grew up broke. Hey everyone, Editing Progress here, and I just quickly wanted to say that well in the middle of editing this video that you are watching right now, Helloyassine has uploaded another video on this situation, detailing even more stuff of debunking the possible way of how the Kid LAROI claims he came up. One of those things being that he supposedly was broke, whereas Helloyassine actually found quite extensive knowledge of where he came from, like what his mother and father did, and where that whole situation like went and what happened, and it is super interesting, so I do suggest you go watch that video as well that he's put out, because it shows a lot of really cool stuff like that. There's a very good chance, like I said, that he did not grow up as broke he is claiming that he did. This led him down a rabbit hole of trying to figure out how it was that the Kid LAROI got from being an absolute nobody, essentially, to then having all of these people who were able to produce for him and all of this extra equipment, and now being able to get signed. All of it just didn't seem to make sense because there seemed to be a gap in information, which was when he was able to find the backstory that the Kid LAROI has attempted to wipe from the internet until now. Which is that there was actually a DJ slash event promoter slash producer who had a decent buzz in his area that had actually been helping the Kid LAROI for years, all before the point of this 14 with a Dream EP, but it went even further than that. This producer's name is Marcus Jr., and he is basically the reason that the Kid LAROI is where he is today. Because as a team, they built up LAROI's sound, following, and brand over a long period of time. And they were actually making some decent moves, with Marcus saying that they were actually getting chances at getting spots on radio shows like with DJ Ziggy, as well as getting to talk with Sony Music label executives. But after all this time of working together, a label came through and gave an offer to the Kid LAROI to end up signing. And this was during the time of him being in Sydney while all of this radio show stuff was happening for Marcus and LAROI, which, as we know now with hindsight, were more than likely Columbia Records as well as Grade A Productions. This is because Columbia is owned by Sony. On top of that, if you also remember, they had that chance at getting to talk with a Sony Music label executive, and even apparently performed a few songs for him at an Airbnb. And this is on top of knowing that Lil Bibby did an interview where he had actually spoken about trying to sign the Kid LAROI without actually explicitly saying his name way back then.
And then this Australian kid I'm very excited about. I think.
How do you end up with an Australian kid?
I heard his music and That shit just blew me away. I've been trying to sign it for a whole year. And everybody was on it, but we got it. And now we gotta put a plan together to make it.
But the thing to note about this situation was that Marcus was not involved in any of the talks about signing, nor was he approached in any way to talk about it, and the Kid LAROI did not even mention that he was getting offers to sign. Which this has now led to the theory that there is a good chance that while the Kid LAROI was in talks with these labels, that they may have said to him that Marcus was more just an asset that they could replace with maybe bigger or better producers and mixers, and that if he were to just leave him behind, then he would be able to sign with them. I think it's also important to remember, though, that the Kid LAROI's mother could have played some part in this decision-making process, as obviously the Kid LAROI is too young to understand these business things, but of course that still does not make what they did okay. It just instead kind of switches the narrative to being that maybe it was his mother just driven by the aim of wanting money that caused that to happen so quickly. But to make things worse, in more recent times, during an interview with Adam22 on the No Jumper channel, the Kid LAROI has decided to try and change the entire narrative as to how he came up and the role that Marcus played in any of that.
Eventually, one day when I was like 12, I posted a video and this guy locally in Sydney was like, oh, I have a studio, come through, like, you know, you can use it for free whenever you want, like, you know, we got producers here, da-da-da-da-da.
Now, of course, the producer being spoken about in this clip was Marcus, but without actually naming him at all. And Marcus actually claimed to Helloyassine that this entire narrative was the other way around, and that it was actually the Kid LAROI who went on Facebook to contact Marcus and not Marcus trying to contact the Kid LAROI, which Marcus has now been able to back up with messages that were screenshotted back on May 5th of 2016 when LAROI would have only been 12 years old. Which in my own opinion, it makes way more sense that it would have been the Kid LAROI trying to contact Marcus, as what person with a studio or any equipment is just casually looking around trying to get 12-year-olds to use it. The other thing in this interview that made things worse was that the Kid LAROI actually sounds like he's discrediting what Marcus did, especially in this clip.
It's like the engineer would just record me, and it was, I mean, he wasn't even a proper engineer, he was just like a guy who just was like learning how to record. So I'd go through and just pick beats, YouTube beats, just go on them and just make songs, and then I would just post them to SoundCloud.
Honestly, it's just messed up. Don't do stuff like that. Like, even the way that he's just tiptoeing around the idea, not even really mentioning who Marcus was and trying to downplay all the stuff that he had done, to the point where he's not even saying the guy's name, like, that's not cool. And I mean, come on, Marcus is the reason that the Kid LAROI was even able to perform at places, because he would do the setting up of all of this event type stuff for him. And on top of that, it wasn't just random YouTube beats or anything like that, or someone just learning to record. As previously mentioned, Marcus was already a DJ and a producer. Also, I don't know about you guys, but I wouldn't shoot some music videos with some dude, or eat in the car of some dude, or spend tons of time with some dude unless they were actually more than just some dude. Now, although I mentioned just a couple minutes ago that it could have been more likely the Kid LAROI's mother in all of this situation, it does not absolve the fact now that the Kid LAROI has completely switched the narrative and tried to discredit everything that Marcus did do for him. Because if he had no role in what had happened, wouldn't you think that he instead would be more likely to try and shout out Marcus or promote Marcus and thank him for the things that he did do now that he's in a position to do so? It doesn't really make sense that if he didn't agree with how the situation was treated, that he would instead just be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna downplay all the things this guy who got me to where I am did for me, because yeah, you know, that's just how everybody acts. It's just cool, right? So because of this, it makes me lean a little bit more in the direction of believing that he may have had an equal part, or at least more of an equal part in this than some people may make it out to be. Now, there is still a lot that I left out of information, because once again, I do want you guys to go and actually watch Helloyassine's video, because it is much more in depth than I am going to be going in this. But now I'm gonna get into what has caused me to be upset, which is the aftermath of what happened when Helloyassine uploaded that video and it started gaining traction. Helloyassine explained in a follow-up video that he had to upload that he woke up to finding out that Sony had actually issued a copyright strike on his video, which ended up taking it down forcefully. Now, I want to make it clear as well that this is not a copyright claim, this is a full-on takedown strike on his channel, which I see as being falsely issued because they claimed the reason of the takedown was Used to This, which was a Future song that the Kid LAROI remixed a few years back, and Helloyassine used a roughly 15-second clip of to prove a point in his video, which also would absolutely be considered fair use because it was way more than transformative enough, and on top of that, it was used there to prove a point, and even further so, it would have absolutely no effect on the market of the original song getting plays or getting purchased, so there is no reason it wouldn't be considered fair use. We also know that the Kid LAROI's camp did end up seeing Helloyassine's video because he ended up getting contacted by one of the main producers of the Kid LAROI named Han, who essentially threatened him by saying that he better be careful what he says in his future videos, and brings up the big boy word of slander. Well, I find that funny actually, because slander refers to a false-spoken statement and also will harm the person's career or image. And a statement, as we all should know, is a definite or clear expression of something, which Helloyassine is not claiming outright that everything that was said is true or everything that was said is false. He himself even clarifies that most of the stuff that he is getting is relayed information and story that was given to him from Marcus. And to my knowledge, telling a story that someone told you is not illegal. On top of that, to prove slander, the Kid LAROI would have to actually provide evidence that was able to prove that what Helloyassine was saying was false. Which, let's be real, there's probably not enough evidence on their side to prove him wrong. Something that is also extremely important to note here is that the US Supreme Court has also ruled that if the person who is supposedly being defamed is a public figure, which the Kid LAROI is, then you have to prove that there was actual malice with the defamatory statements, which malice in this context has nothing to do with intent, but rather the Kid LAROI would have to prove that Helloyassine said what he said in his video with knowledge that the information was false, which obviously would be impossible because Marcus provided evidence to his claims more than the Kid LAROI has, so he clearly wouldn't think that the statements weren't true. Oh yeah, and just as a, a little bit of a note here, a YouTube video is not really considered slander because a YouTube video more so follows under what libel is, so that more so shows you that these producers that work for these labels and stuff, they don't understand law, so why are they speaking about law? And to emphasize that point of just how dumb this producer is, Han, I have a question for you. If you yourself have stated that the Kid LAROI does not care about Helloyassine's video, who's gonna sue him for slander? Are you gonna sue him for slander on behalf of someone who doesn't care? These statements, back to back, make absolutely no sense. I swear, the hamster that runs this guy's brain must have been on a break while he was typing this. That's the only excuse I'll accept. Also, one final massive inconsistency from Han that once again proves he shouldn't be allowed an internet connection is that in the messages between Han and Helloyassine, Helloyassine outright says to Han that he doesn't want to talk to him, but he'd be more than happy to speak to the Kid LAROI about the situation. Obviously because he is the direct source other than Marcus, because they are the only two who are main sources. But then on Twitter, Han is getting all upset saying that people need to speak to the sources and not just word of mouth. Like, Han, bro, you're not a primary source. The only people who are the Kid LAROI and Marcus, and you said that the Kid LAROI doesn't care about it, so what are you getting upset over? You're actually hurting my brain over how little you think before typing. But at the end of the day, all of this is extremely frustrating though, because as I have shown on my channel, time after time again, labels try and abuse the systems that YouTube has put in place to try and make things a little more, like, safer for the entire community. They abuse those tools and instead use them to try and silence anything that they don't like. It's pretty insane that they don't understand that there is no button that says, I'm a whiny little baby and I don't like that people are saying the things I've done, cause I want to hide it all. Guess what though? you not liking something, yeah, that's not copyright infringement, moron. It's not trademark infringement. It's not against your privacy rights. It's not slander, defamation, libel, all those terms you want to throw out. It's none of those things. And it especially isn't an excuse to abuse the power you have. Because every time that labels do that, they prove once again just how slimy they are when it comes to not wanting to be truthful. Being a part of a record label is not this infinite criticism shield that you can just hold up in front of everybody and destroy anyone who tries to break any narratives that you try and push. No matter how much everybody at labels seem to think that that's how it should work. At the end of the day, I just think the whole situation is super, super sketchy. And with the label trying so hard to suppress this narrative that Helloyassine has kind of like exposed, it doesn't make them look too good. But anyway, I think that's probably going to cover it all for today's video, as I gave my say on the situation and showed you guys a little bit of extra stuff, because that's realistically the goal of this video, was to just, you know, keep you guys up to speed with what was happening and give my opinion on it, because holy, everybody thought the last video was going to be on the Kid LAROI, and you know, it wasn't. So I did have this in the works though, so I was like, all right, I'll give you guys what you're wanting. I hope you enjoyed it. But yeah, so massive shout out to my patrons this month. You guys are all so extremely awesome and help me out a lot. And a special thank you to all of my $10 and up patrons this month. Those being Farski, Midwestfunky, Helen, Karma, Rian, and Fxy Lovitz. You guys are absolutely amazing, and I'm so grateful for your support. It means the absolute world to me. Once again, thank you. But I hope you guys did enjoy today's video, and as always, it should be art over algorithm. Goodbye.
I wanna make your days be worth it, be with you at night, you at night, yeah. I wanna flirt and call you perfect, cause I know I'm right, I know I'm right, yeah. I wanna make your days